Their philosophy is that the customer is always right, even if they're clearly wrong.
Right, exactly.
It's very important to remember in today's world, we're in a very special times where the most important resource in the world right now is not gold, it's not oil or fuel and all these things. The main resource right now in the world, the most precious resource in the world right now is people's attention. If you have people's attention, you have everything. That's what makes them so extremely powerful because they can sell you things, they can influence what you're thinking, what you're voting, and that creates change. If you're a seller out there with products, where are people's attention at? How can I tap into their attention and highlight where the benefits of my products and goods and convert them? I convert them within Amazon, with your website. I always sold multi-channel as a brand owner or a seller to make sure that your products are available to as many clients as you can around the world.
Hey everyone, thank you again for joining us with our podcast. Today, I have a special guest with me, Yoni Mazor from Getida. And if you're in the Amazon space and you don't know Getida, something's wrong. Obviously, all of us, we know Getida, we've used Getida, so it's a long story behind it. And one of the founders here with me, Yoni. So thank you so much for joining me today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Sure. But before we dive into Getida, I wanted to start with your Amazon journey before. So, before the idea came, before, how you started to establish this, just how did you get into the Amazon space? What did you do there?
You got it. Yeah, sure. So what happened was over a decade ago, we started selling products online, my partner and I. And back in the day, eBay was the main arena. And then we also had a website. And then around 2013, we started selling on Amazon. Amazon was kind of up and coming.
So eBay was your first venture?
I would say, yeah, eBay was like the main e-commerce platform. I sell stuff on eBay so when you say that, people understood. When you back then said that you sell stuff on Amazon, people were like, what does that mean? Because Amazon also sells on Amazon, right? So it was right. eBay never sold on eBay. So it was kind of a given that, you can sell stuff on eBay. It wasn't too clear that you can actually sell stuff on Amazon, because when Amazon started, they sold themselves. So in people's head, even today, when people buy on Amazon, oftentimes they don't even realize that they're buying from third-party sellers. That's why I say I bought on Amazon, because thinking that they bought it from Amazon.
Yeah, it took many years. to people to understand that there's private sellers behind which are selling their products. What did you sell on eBay, by the way?
I work for a supplements company.
Okay.
So we had the supplements online, we had the website, we had eBay, we sold to Amazon actually, so Amazon can sell it. But so early days was that. And then what happened was I in the synagogue I made a friend, and that friend became my partner even till today. And he was doing accounting for a furniture company. I was doing sales and distribution for a supplements company. But we were passionate entrepreneurs. And we felt that, there's probably a lot of energy and opportunity with selling stuff online. And eBay was, like I said, the main arena or the main thought process. We kind of knew that Amazon is up and coming. So in 2013, we started selling on Amazon. And then once that happened, then it was like a monster that doesn't matter how much food you give it keeps on eating it and saying, give me more.
So you saw like immediate success on Amazon?
Yeah, immediate. It was like, it's like, eBay was successful, but once we put the heat on Amazon, it was just wild. It was just, we always continued to sell on eBay and our website, multi-channel through the whole adventure and journey, but Amazon was just a massive beast. Very quickly from zero, we grew to 20 million and then to 100 million. And Getida was kind of born from that need and experience because FBA, because early on, of course, we did FBM, fulfilled by merchant. So we fulfilled our own orders. And then...
And initially when you started, there was no FBA, or you didn't
There
use...
was. There
right.
was. But we never kind of thought about it. And then, as we got deeper and deeper to the Amazon game, we realized there is such a program called FBA. And it comes with all these benefits where we didn't have to buy or lease a larger warehouse and hire more employees. We could just use Amazon's system or infrastructure. And also you get Prime badge and you don't have to deal with the customer returns. Today it's the fundamentals we all take for granted. Back then it was like innovation. It was like, oh, that's another point to consider, another point. Also, if you get a negative feedback on your account, they because of the fulfillment, they strike it off. So you're able to get a better rating as a seller. Back then it was kind of important to have a good rating as a seller. How many stars you have or how many feedback you have was a thing. Today, I don't think it kind of over the years it shifted to the actual product. Today, the product itself for the listing page needs to have a lot of feedback and a lot of stars.
Those who don't know, the FBA is what attracted a lot of sellers, made life a lot easier. Amazon is taking care of the logistics, the warehousing. You basically send your products there and they take care of everything, as opposed to FBM, which you as a merchant taking care of all the logistics. It made easier. I think that attract a lot of sellers and made a lot of entrepreneurs because of how easy it was. I dealt with logistics, you as well, how difficult it is to manage inventory, warehousing. So I think that's
People, we got to manage a lot of people, their schedules, their life, their family. So yeah, we still take this system for granted because over the years, this FBA system, it became more complex, more expensive, not so simplified as it used to be. Back then, they were just telling you just ship us your stuff, and it was very cheap to ship it because they subsidized the shipping. So when you create your shipment to Amazon, it was very cheap. And then there was no storage fees, fulfillment fees were close to none. It was just an amazing time. It really amazing because when Amazon wants you to make money, you'll make a lot of money. Let's put it this way.
Definitely. You see when they enter new markets, you see all the benefits that they want to give you.
Yeah, it was pretty romantic to think about those days where they're really kind of courting the sellers and they kind of telling you we want you. It was good times. Today it's different. They have so many that are standing in line to enter this game. It's so competitive. They have to be selective. So now it's the survival of the fittest. You have to be really sophisticated and into the ins and outs of the policies and changes and cost structures and unit economics. But in any case, yeah, that's per your question. That was the evolution of entering into the Amazon space.
So again, I'm assuming most people do know Getida, but in a few words, just how the idea came and how do you start this new venture, and the involvement of Getida. It's very interesting.
Got it, yeah. So what happened was, after a few months of selling on Amazon and FBA, we realized there's an FBM, a fulfillment merchant. We realized there's an FBA program. So the thing was that we didn't take anything for granted. We said, okay, it's a new program, and I'm gonna, if we're gonna ship our inventory to Amazon, we want to know what are the policies, what are the rules. So we actually called Amazon and said, hey, we're going to ship you this inventory. What if something happens? What if something gets lost, damaged, destroyed, anything? So I said, okay, open this page and that page because we want to see the policies in writing. So now you can see the policies. Here's the policy. It's all in writing. I said, okay, first of all, they have a page. It's all in writing. And if anything goes wrong, at least in writing, they take responsibility for it. So let's do that. So we created a shipment. I think it was over $10,000. So that was a lot of money for us back then. To ship 10,000 was like our life savings into this shipment. So we shipped 116 units to Amazon. And lo and behold, only 113 units were properly received, and 3 units were kind of missing or lost. So once again, we knew about the policies, and then we called it in, and we opened a case and everything, and they investigated, and they saw that they were lost, those units, and then they're reimbursed for it, they're refunded for it, and that created a lot of trust for us. Said, okay, these guys, everything in writing, they have a whole mechanism how to deal with it, how to reconcile it, and how to compensate for it. We can trust them, and those units sold pretty quickly. So then we doubled down, 20,000, then 40,000, 80,000. It was really a boom town for us in terms of a scale. Anyways, over time, we scaled to such a large degree and we had so many transactions to reconcile with FBA for all the lost and damaged units. We're not able to use spreadsheets anymore. They were simply breaking from all the data that we had to process.
So what you're saying is each and every one of the shipments you sent there had something missing? Sounds like that.
No, not all of the shipments, but there's so many shipments and the frequency was so high. But shipments are just one layer. Later on, we realized that once the units are inside the fulfillment center, inside you have to reconcile them constantly because some of them will get lost inside the centers, but also between the centers. Amazon might ship your products from Kentucky to Nevada to California to have a one to prime shipping, speed shipping. And then also between the fulfillment centers to the customers, not all the orders get fulfilled properly from the customer back to Amazon with all the customer returns. So all these logistics friction points, there's constantly discrepancies and things gets lost or damaged. So we realized that early on, because of the policy, because of the rules, we were very entrenched into the framework. So we constantly download those transactions and reports. And they became so heavy on Excel, we were not able to open them anymore. They're just simply crashing. So in other words, we scaled so much, we had to create an infrastructure to deal with this at scale. So we did 2 things. We created software and technology to audit all the transactions at scale. And the second thing was that we set up a dedicated team to constantly open the cases and manage all the back and forth with Amazon until there's resolution. Because we found out that on an annual basis, our discrepancy rate was ranging between 1 to 3% from the revenue, or from the inventory that we're sending in. In other words, for every 100 units we send in, typically between 1 to 3 units is going to experience an issue with the life cycle that it has within FBA fulfillment centers. So once we scaled to 100 million, it was $1 to $3 million a year that we had to kind of properly, professionally reconcile. So we created this environment for ourselves. So after we did that, it worked pretty well for us. We told our friends from the industry that we have these capabilities. So they told us, help us, we'll pay you. And that was early genesis of Getida back in 2015. So that's kind of the breakthrough. And it's not like we woke up in the morning, had an idea. It was more like the customer, the clients in a way, knocking on our head, said, come and help us. That's what kind of pushed us into trying this out.
So you mentioned the 1 to 3%, which got lost or damaged. People don't realize, but there's, these percentages are significant, especially with Amazon, because there's a lot of payments that you need to make, and every percent counts. And like you mentioned, 1% is $1 million a year, which was very important to invest in it. And obviously, it triggered, I'm assuming, like you mentioned, the friends that you've told said, please help us. And that a lot of people have came to realize how beneficial it could be for the business. And then how did you start to scale, to get to the point where everybody knows you?
Yeah, so what happened was I would say something like 3 to 4 years where it's just growing organically, word of mouth. Mainly because the value proposition was very simple. It's purely performance based. So only if we get refunds for the users, only then we get rewarded. So it's free to join, it's free to stay, no subscription, anything like that. So 3 to 4 years was just growing organically. Then we were caught up in a situation where we have kind of two businesses. One is retail, one is technology and services, let's call it, which is Getida. So then in 2019, we made a strategic decision to cash out of retail and take all of our profit, focus, attention, motivation into one place instead of dividing it into two places. And from that point on, once we had our energy in one place and focus, that's when we kind of took leadership on the niche, I would say. And just grew larger and larger. We scaled all the way to having more than 230 team members in 12 countries. And then 2022, we got backed up by private equity. So we expanded even more. We created an office and a team in Europe and also in China. Yeah, once we had the focus in there, things grew very, very rapidly. And also globally, because it's a global environment, which was, for me, was very exciting to be able to meet sellers and entrepreneurs and talents from all over the world and making all these connections. It was an adventure that I never expected to have. Thankfully, for me at least, it was very enjoyable.
Right. Obviously, you tapped into something that didn't exist before. Companies notice it. How did the competition happen? How did it begin? How did you?
Yeah, to be fair, so when we came into the market, we definitely were not the first, second, third, or fourth. There was a whole industry already established with this. I would say maybe in my mental mindset, most, if not many of the years of Getida, were the underdog. So even when we grew and grew and grew, I always had this underdog mentality saying, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the size or the status or anything like that. We have to really focus on the client and their needs and stuff like that. That's what really kind of led us. It wasn't like, I want to come in to compete, or we did this analysis. Oh, here's the competitors. That's their size. That's our size. In a way, we kind of borrowed from the Jeff Bezos and Amazon philosophy. Over the years, it was kind of famous from Jeff Bezos that he said, I don't focus on the competition. I only focus on the client. The clients will always tell me what, because they focus on the competition and they're not even focused on the clients. We can both be in a place where we're both going to be in an inferior place, let's put it this way. So what really led us over the years was like having the mindset of sellers, because we were sellers, and constantly, listening to the needs of the sellers as the conditions constantly change and move. So that was really where it led us. So we for the most part, most of the years, we're very familiar with the competition. We consider it an industry. As an industry, we have to have kind of good relationships, and sometimes we actually help each other. What do you do with this? What do you do with that? And kind of advise each other and give each other some tips and advice how to structure the business properly.
That's a great philosophy. I also agree with that 100%. Dealing with the competition, it's not fighting them. It's you can also be benefiting from one another, helping one another in some areas where they excel, and when you excel. I completely agree with that. But you do have to stand out somehow. You have to grow. It's a business. You have to grow it. So how did you guys manage to stand out against your competition?
That's a good point. I would say focus, because over the years we noticed that some of the competition, or maybe even most of the competition, for them doing reimbursements and refunds, it was just kind of one leg out of a few things that they do, right? So they offer all these services, all these tools, all these widgets, whatever it is, and reimbursement is kind of one more thing that they do. So it wasn't the full focus. So they're not able to deliver the full impact, and that eventually showed in the results and the recovery and the performance.
So focus on your core competence, basically.
I think so. Yeah. Over the years, we know, especially when we grew to a large user base, this notion and temptation of, oh, let's create more features, or let's offer more features, and upsell and upsell and upsell, right? Because we have a large user base, and they
Right.
trust the brand. So over the years, we kind of stayed away from that, and we said we're going to compound our ability to deliver more and more in one place instead of kind of spreading our focus to a few. So I think on the awareness level or the branding level, I think that made a difference. One more thing I want to add is I kind of heard recently from Elon Musk. I think when he was in the Joe Rogan podcast, he mentioned something about how to think about competition and also an industry. He said they did a research with Coca-Cola and Pepsi.
Mm-hmm.
And he said many times you'll see in sports arenas or hospitals or places or malls or places where you go. Sometimes you'll see, or oftentimes you'll see, that there's two machine types. One of them is the Coke, one of them is the Pepsi. Because they realize in this research that if you only see one of them, if you see like just a Coke machine or just a Pepsi machine, do I want to drink a soda? Yes or no? And you might not buy it. But once you see the two brands, you're going to buy something. The question is which one. And it's
Yeah,
good for
exactly.
business.
Is it going to be Pepsi? Is it going to be Pepsi or Coca-Cola? Yeah,
Yeah,
I read
I'm
this.
drinking
I read
something.
this
Yeah,
as
so
well.
it's better for the
Yeah,
industry. Once you have competition and both of them are kind of signaling to the end customer or consumer that you're going to do this, you just have to choose which one.
yeah.
It's good for business.
If many companies are doing it, I guess I need it. I guess it's going to help my
I can
business grow
enjoy this. I can
somehow.
enjoy this. And what am I going to enjoy? This one or that one? But I'm going to enjoy this, so it's good for the industry, kind of thing.
Exactly, exactly. You know what? We're seeing, shifting and changes and updates in Amazon all the time, with their policies, the way they do things. And also with the reimbursements, not long ago, there was a big change that can significantly change, first of all, the industry that you were in. And second of all, it could have a serious impact on sellers. Can you tell me more about this?
Yeah, sure. So December 18th, 2024. So Amazon came with a new notification and industry update and a new deadline. And the deadline is March 10th, 2025. And March 10th, they're going to change the policy for FBA refunds and reimbursements, where as of now, before the policy change, when they pay a reimbursement, they pay for the retail value of the product. So if I'm an Amazon seller and I want to sell my product, or I am selling my product on Amazon, let's say for $30, and they lose it or damage it, and FBA, they reimburse me $30 as if I sold it on Amazon. That's the retail value. But come March 10th, with the policy change, they're going to only reimburse the manufacturing value of the product. So if my manufacturing value is $5 and I want to sell it on Amazon, and I'm selling it for $30 on Amazon, I'm only going to get $5. So that's a big dramatic change from where the reality is today and where it's going to be for the sellers. Yeah, so that's pretty much where it's at. And effectively what's going to happen is because of this change, when it comes to FBA refunds and reimbursements, it's going to shift from being a profit center for the sellers to a loss center. Because obviously right now when they pay you full retail, you get your cost back, all the handling, all the shipping, all the duties and all that stuff, and also all your markup, all your margin. You're going to get, you make that. So you shift the double negative to double positive. You get your cost back and you make profit. But with the new policy change, you're only going to get your manufacturing costs. This excludes shipping, handling, customs duties, all these things around that are our costs for the sellers to actually deliver the inventory to Amazon. I'll give you an example. It's going to be more of a large scale to make this example more vivid. Let's say I'm shipping $1 million worth of goods, worth of inventory to Amazon from China. I'm shipping a few containers. And Amazon loses the whole shipment for whatever reason. And they'll say, okay, here's $1 million. We're reimbursing you for your manufacturing costs. That's nice, but the problem is it cost me $100,000 to ship it to Amazon, right? I had to pay for the containers and the handling. So I'm going to get my million and I lost the $100,000. So now it's a loss center for me, right? If they lose or damage a product. In addition to that, I invested $1 million not to get $1 million back and lose 100,000. I invested $1 million in inventory and actually took a loan from the bank and paying interest so I can sell it for $4 or $5 million and make margin, make profit. And I want to do it again and again. That's what the business that I'm in. So that's where for the sellers, that's kind of the heart of the change where it might be a challenge for them or some of them or many of them. I don't know. We'll see when it happens when it comes to, shipping products, especially at scale to FBA, in the future.
So I'm just, thinking out loud, what is the logic behind this? Okay, they know they have to take care of the sellers. Obviously, they need the sellers on the platform. this, could be, the impact can be significant, right? Like you mentioned, you can lose a lot of money because manufacturing cost is not everything. There's a lot of cost added to that. Do you know anything, anybody heard or know what's the reasoning behind it, or anyone approached them to say, hey, listen, my costs are higher. Maybe not reimburse me for the entire, the sales price, but at least add it to the logistic cost that I have to bear.
Yeah, man, many questions here. There's a few more questions actually you can bring up. Which okay, so the manufacturing cost instead of and it doesn't include all the rest of the cost. So what's happening is that to give some more insight actually in the color. So the way this game is going to work is that Amazon's system is going to automatically try to figure out what your manufacturing cost. That's the default.
So you don't have to submit like invoices or.
So you will if the system gets it wrong. So let's say your manufacturing is $5. But the system thinks it's $3, so they're paying only $3. So now you have the option. They have a feature that just rolled out a few days ago in January 30th. They rolled out a new feature in the platform for handling manufacturing costs, where you're going to be able to upload your invoices and documents to show them your manufacturing costs, so they can approve it and actually fix it. Instead of paying you $3, they'll pay you $5 in our example. That adds a layer of work and labor for the sellers. Right, that's one thing to consider. Mm-hmm. So they're severely underpaying you. Plus, you have to put some labor into it to fix it. But another thing is, I'm not sure if Amazon fully consider or not. They have to expose their sources,
right?
The sellers, their factories, whatever it is. And some sellers are not too comfortable with it for whatever reason. For them, it's their mojo, it's their secret sauce, it's their whatever it is. So it puts the seller in a challenging place where, like we mentioned earlier, it's a loss center. There's going to be more handling for less compensation. Plus, you have to kind of open the hood a little bit and show what's behind, show the engine of your business. So this is me kind of actually trying to share with you what I hear from the sellers there, because once, of course, this got announced, there's all the forums and social media and the conferences. Right. So this is what I'm hearing from the streets, from the sellers, where this change is kind of challenging them or, creating these considerations for them.
It sounds kind of random, though. They give you the production price. There's so many variants here. There's so many manufacturers around the world. How could they, guess the manufacturing cost? No idea.
It's listen. Ultimately, every business is can create its own. It's like a kingdom. You can create your own rules and regulations. Right. Think about it. When you have business, I can say this is the rules of my company. Of course, unless these rules are completely legal, you're probably not gonna be able to do that. But when it comes to compensation, refund, you can create your own. Your own kingdom and your own rules. Sometimes they're more comfortable. Sometimes they're more challenging. In this case, for the sellers, they're probably gonna be more challenging. I haven't never had to talk with the king yet or the throne. But if I do, it'll be an interesting question and an interesting answer.
First of all, it sounds like every single seller will have to share his cost because it sounds totally random. There's so many variants here. That's one thing. The other thing you said about the kingdom, you're so right. We are dealing with this on a daily basis, wrongful shutdowns, removal of listings and suspensions on God knows what, you get suspended and you don't even get the notice to know why and for what. So yeah, we know about the rules.
So you're saying, let me help you here. So you're saying that if from your perspective, when it comes to compliance and performance for the sellers with all their terms of service, because you're much more deeper than this than our side, we're on a very, very narrow end of it. You're saying that it's not so clear what Amazon always wants?
First of all, it's not clear. And second of all, because things change and shift and update all the time, one thing that you thought was legit today could be something else tomorrow. And many times, we get clients that are coming in saying that we got suspended. We have no idea why. Or even if they point out why, it sounds, out of the blue. We are on our end. We're completely legit. We do everything we can not to, poke the bear in any way. And then you have to fight. It's you're guilty until proven innocent and not the other way around. That's
in this kingdom. But when you go back to civil life, I guess in the United States at least, I guess it's a little bit of the opposite. You're innocent until proven guilty, right?
It's supposed to be like that. Yeah.
In America, in the United States, I'm saying. But once you, yeah.
Yeah, no, everywhere, especially, us as lawyers, we see it. I'm talking about not in the e-commerce space, in the Amazon space, everywhere you're innocent until proven guilty. Here, there's many cases which you have to prove that you're doing good and you haven't done anything, wrong according to the platform. And a lot of the time they're sending you like kind of a random message. You've, I don't know, violated section 3. There's so many things concerning you. You're smiling because you know what I'm talking about. There's so many
Okay.
things, in section 3. And so we see it all the time. So I know about the rules. Again, I don't know what's going to happen with the reimbursement issue, but it could be, a death blow for many businesses on Amazon. And it's going to surprise me if it's going to stay that way. But we never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, definitely sellers who have thin margins, low margins, it's going to be very, very challenging for them to stay profitable on the platform. I can tell you that Eitan Wiener is one of the investors in Getida and he used to be the CEO. When he sold his business, he sold his Amazon business to a public company, about 14% of his profit was coming from reimbursements.
Right.
14. So, and once that gets shaved off, and not only that gets shaved off, now also you actually take a loss, that can, like you said, that can really change the business model for some of the sellers out there. And I know none of us really know the scale and scope of this, this impact. So we're going to have to wait and see. And if you're hopeful that it's going to change, I'm hopeful with you. Obviously, as a former seller and a big supporter of this
I don't know if
industry.
you're going to change. It sounds very, very harsh, such a step. But again, we're going to start to know this next month, what's going to happen, and see if they're going to come through with this.
It's survival of the fittest. The ones that have really high, good, healthy margins, they really know how to brand and differentiate themselves and all that stuff. They'll probably prevail. They'll be like so they'll be able to absorb this loss center and write it off, and keep their margins or even improve them over time. Because and when it comes to trade and selling and buying and selling products, the ones that are typically stay the longest and prosper are the brands, the ones that have brand recognition, the Nikes, the Adidas of the world. Over time, they're able to do it economy of scale, constantly reduce their costs, and increase their pricing over time.
I'm not sure it's businesses that not even going to lose money. They have the margins, but they're getting lower and lower. I'm not sure that they're going to hang on, because they say I can invest my efforts in other platforms or ventures and less work with more margins. It's always something to consider. It's still, you don't have to lose money. But even your margins are very low, I'm making very little money, and the effort that you have to put in, and we know there's a lot of effort to put in, with an Amazon business, it might not be worth it even to successful businesses. But again, only time will tell. But you just don't have to lose money to to figure out there's somewhere else you can make more money. And saying that, in your perspective and in many years that you've been in the Amazon space, where do you think this is going, for sellers? I mean, first of all, we're seeing competition. People are shifting to Walmart, and, Shopify is huge. People are creating their own brands,
Yeah, so if I look at my business historically, we typically made more margin on other platforms and other channels, selling on our website and even selling on eBay and selling on Walmart. We did all those things, and there was more profit there. But Amazon always had the lion's share of the revenue, and because the economy of scale, eventually we made more profit in total, even though we made percentages. So let's say I can make a 15% margin with other channels, and Amazon will make 10% or even 8%, which is half, but I'm selling 10 times more. That's why you kind of still prefer it and rely on it, right? So that's probably the situation in reality for most, if not all, of the sellers and brands out there compared to the other platforms. So
you think it's going to continue to be so?
I don't know. I mean,
so big?
Historically, nothing lasts forever, right? I'm a
Right.
big history kind of follower, and in the same way that well, I'm going to go a little bit into history of retail. So Sears, I don't know if you're probably familiar with
What's,
Sears. There was simply, Sears was the Amazon of its day, of its time. It was it innovated the United States when they created the railroads, and all of a sudden they connected all these parts of the country, very remote and far places. They sent a giant catalog, right? You get in your home a big catalog, and all of a sudden, even though you're in a farm somewhere in Missouri or Mississippi, doesn't matter. You're able to open it and send a check to Sears, and all of a sudden, a few weeks later, because you get the product. That was like Amazon, right? That was like, oh my goodness, I never seen any of these products. So they brought it to your doorstep, all these products. And they became a huge success. And then when the malls era came in, they were in every mall. They had the anchor store, a big store, a department store, and they were just the biggest thing on earth. Sears was the largest company in the world. The largest and tallest tower in the world was in Chicago, the Sears Tower, for many, many years. They seemed invincible, and nothing can destroy that. Oh, Sears, I can't even think about any other option. And anyways, this little small company from Arkansas called Walmart came into the game. Slowly but surely, it became this own monster. Then Series B, started to become a shadow of itself, and Walmart became such a huge thing in the 80s and 90s. Nobody thought that can be beaten. And then all of a sudden this thing that came in, the internet and e-commerce, a little bit of eBay, but then this Amazon thing. So Amazon is now, even Walmart, which is a huge company that does over $600 billion in revenue, people consider it like an underdog compared to what's going on with Amazon. So
Right.
there's always shifts and changes with dominance in retail. We see it all the time. It takes a few years to create these dynamic changes. Walmart is maybe the only one out there that you can really see that has the resources and infrastructure to try to really compete in terms of offering the sellers the platform, the client base, but also the fulfillment. They call it WFS, Walmart Fulfillment Services. Which is the equivalent of FBA. They're the only ones that kind of put the actual option in their platform. And it might be the answer. It's small now, but in 5 years, 10 years, maybe. It can also be coming from TikTok shops. We know it gained a lot of steam in the past year, TikTok shops.
Social commerce is, booming. So
Yeah, we don't. There's always a disruption that will come from somewhere that will. So the disruption from Sears, we said the catalogs into they kind of double dip. They did the catalogs and the railroads, but then in the malls, the anchor store, that was innovation, and then Walmart came with their strategy where they built huge centers across 90% of the population, less than 1 hour away from the 90% of the population, but they did it in a place where they take empty land for very cheap, and they create them this mega center for very cheap. But also, they create this whole shopping malls around, like not a mall, but a shopping center around them. So all these stores around them, they actually lease it to them. It's also a real estate game. So that's how they innovated. Walmart, really low prices. They really pushed the China model, where you have to kind of bring stuff from China very very affordable prices. That's how they innovated and created their impact. And Amazon, of course, being e-commerce, internet, a huge catalog that's endless and in your palm of your hands. But also the innovation was FBA. Just the fact that they open up the channel for third-party sellers to leverage the FBA and create this massive catalog in a very trustworthy environment where you can pay online safely, but also get your product within a day or two. That was their innovation. So they all disrupted in their own way and innovated, and it's bound to happen again. I don't know from which direction. If I did, I'll be probably a very rich man and investing in stocks and stuff.
I think the Sears thing is they didn't adapt. That's their main mistake. Walmart, after they saw what's going on with Amazon, they acquired jet.com in order to get to the e-commerce business, and they are feeling the market and know where it's going. So we need to adapt in order to make sure we're still there, because again, people are going less to the malls. Obviously e-commerce is a lot more convenient, and they are adapting to that. What's going on with Amazon isn't adapting to everything. Basically, they are very innovative. They feel the market, and they're huge, and they have a lot of money to spend in order to do these.
Yeah, what's interesting, Amazon is so huge, but they're acting like a startup. They have the startup
Yes.
mentality. I think Jeff Bezos created with the day one mentality. Every day is day one. Every day, wake up in the morning, it's like your first day of the job. The first day of the job, you're so excited, you're so innovative, you're so lean, you're so everything. So day one is so maybe that ethos or mentality is still there. But the question is, how long is it gonna last? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm saying, the difficult thing in our perspective, what we do on a daily basis, it's the struggle that the sellers are having on the platforms. In my opinion, there's no platform without the sellers. Amazon can sell, they're selling brands, they're selling, product, they're buying brands and selling them on their own. But still, they innovative, the feeling of the market is coming from the sellers. And if they're not there, I think it's going to create an issue. They're making them struggle. In my opinion, what's going on right now, same thing with talents, okay? So basically, if you wanted to be a talent a few years ago, you had to, go audition, and you had to, really struggle exactly get an agent and somehow, distribute your tapes or your CDs, whatever was going on back there. And now suddenly people can do it on themselves. If you have your talent, you're gonna go on social media. If people will like it, you will get noticed. I think it's the same thing with e-commerce right now. We're seeing the social commerce booming right now. Okay, so you have a product. If it's appealing, if people like it, you can promote it on your own. And also one thing, the important thing is you don't have the marketing cost that you have or had as an e-commerce business.
Mm-hmm.
When you launch a website, a lot of people are thinking, okay, I'll do it by on my own. I don't need Amazon. But the amount of money that you spend on marketing in order to create traffic to your website, in order to convert these leads that are coming in, is taking a lot of efforts and a lot of, basically most of your funds.
Yeah.
is going to marketing. And I think it's also going, the strength is going back to the individuals with, social e-commerce. But again, everything is happening fast, but it's just the beginning, in my opinion, and we'll have to see what happens. But again, things will have to change with Amazon in regards to the way they treat sellers. The way they treat consumers, they do an amazing job. You always, you get your money back if it's something you don't like.
Yeah, I have my own thing about their philosophy with customer service, which is admirable. Where their philosophy is that the customer is always right, even if they're clearly wrong.
Right, exactly. So yeah, so they're on one end they're doing great job, but guys, please remember there's also sellers on the other, which you have to take care of. Any plans for the future that you can share with us? This is related to the e-commerce or Amazon or other platforms.
I want to pick on what you mentioned a little bit, where it's very important to remember that in today's world, we're in a very special times where the most important resource in the world right now is not gold, it's not oil or fuel, and all these things. The main resource right now in the world, the most precious resource in the world right now, is people's attention.
Right.
If you have people's attention, you have everything. That's why companies like TikTok, Facebook, Meta, Twitter, they're worth so much money. Think about it. Why? What are they? They giving you food? No. They're giving you no. They have your attention, right? You put your attention into their platforms and in your eyeballs for so much time during the day. That's what makes them so extremely powerful, because they can sell you things, they can influence what you're thinking, what you're voting, and that creates change and all these things. So if you're a seller out there with products, think about that. Where are people's attention at? How can I tap into their attention and highlight where the benefits of my products and goods, and convert them? I convert them with an Amazon, with your website. I always sold multi-channel. I always had, with my retail, experience, it was always, I was born from actually the retail side. Early on, I actually worked in the store, and then in the malls, and then online. So I did this whole evolution, so I always thought, there's more channels. And a lot of the environment of Amazon is Amazon native or Amazon born sellers or brands. So for them, it's like, that's the world. That's the only way to sell things. It's not. There's retail. It's much more broad, and so but to optimize for that, you have to think or realize where the attention is at, and then cater to that attention, and you'll see results. You have to make those steps. So if as per your question, what's in the future, I think a lot of the smart, brightest brands and sellers out there are thinking in those domains, and they're actually able to enjoy the best that everything has to offer. If it's Amazon, it still has a lot to offer, a lot of great things, but also all the rest of the platforms. And it's also your fiduciary duty as a brand owner or a seller to make sure that your products are available to as many clients as you can around the world, right? So maybe you cannot conquer the world in one day, but start domestically selling in the U.S. and then expand to Canada and Mexico, whatever it is. You can do it with Amazon, because to expand those platforms, actually it's easier than others. Just you got to think in those domains. Where can I get the products that I have that which solve things for people around the world the best way possible, and you'll be successful probably long term.
I think multi-channel is one of the best advice that you gave here. I also speak to people about this. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. A lot of people coming to us, they shut their store down. They're suspended, and this is their entire livelihood. They don't have another cash flow from other places, another revenue stream. And basically, having your Amazon store, just for an example, your Amazon store and also your Shopify store, even if your Shopify store is not doing that great, but still, you're developing it step by step while you're selling on Amazon. If something happens here, you have other places you started building. It sounds more complicated than it is, but you're already manufacturing the product. You're already investing in marketing. Even if you're on Amazon, you're spending in marketing. So doing a multi-channel could definitely help you in the long run. And by the way, I've talked to many, sellers, longtime sellers. I think, almost all of them, who are still sellers on Amazon, also doing other things, first of all, or other e-commerce platforms, or on their own. They're not trusting anyone right now. I'm not saying just Amazon is bad. I mean,
they're taking advantage. It's not about trust, but taking advantage of all that the world has to offer to you. They're thinking open and globally. Yes. Instead of like, I was born here, I'm going to die here. You could.
It's minimizing risk, by the way. Same, people that are investing money. You don't want to put everything in the S&P.
You want stock, yeah. You don't want to put just on Facebook or Google. You want to diversify.
Exactly. So this is a great advice. This is something I always say to people that speak to me about this and what's going to be in the future. I don't know what's going to be, as you said. I don't know what's going to be in the future, but be prepared to whatever it's going to come. Yoni, I have to say that this was a very interesting conversation, and it was so great that you came to speak with me today, and I appreciate your time. And hopefully we will meet again with some new ideas and ventures that you came up with and started in the future. So again, thank you very much, and I appreciate it. And it was great speaking to you.
My pleasure. Good luck, everybody.
Thanks so much.